I love it. Feeling good on a Friday.
Yeah, I'm feeling good on a Friday too, right? All right. Well,
oh yes,
I am super grateful
Oh,
for
cheers.
you
Always.
and all that you do.
Mhm.
And thank you for being a good friend.
You're phenomenal.
And thank you for being a personal growth nerd like me. And thank you for inspiring us all to really live beyond default and most importantly, be our best selves. So thank you so much.
Wow. No, it could not be put to action without you and the collaborative and the creative minds coming together in an early morning and on a Friday.
Yeah.
I'm thankful for you. So
On a Friday. It is Friday. All right. Welcome, LinkedIn. We are here on this fantastic, fabulous FYF Friday. And we are super glad that you are all here. If you can't hear us or it sounds a little bit quiet, let us know. We're doing our best with the equipment to make it consistent and, of course, make it so you can understand us and hear everything we're saying. So let's start off with a little bit of music.
Get some jams going.
Yeah.
Good morning. Oh, I will say, top of the morning once again.
All right, we've got Elena on. Good morning. We have Penelope with the blue heart. All right, I want to say thank you to Noelle, Michelle, and Abel Gray for allowing us and giving us the authorization to use some of their music. So check them out. Abel Gray, A-B-L-E Gray, G-R-E-Y, and Noelle Michelle. They are both on Spotify. Check them out. They're friends of ours. They're super cool. And we're just happy to have some background music, right?
I love to jam. This was my first introduction this morning, and I'm about to go like and follow and dig deep into the music. That's the beauty of music, is it gets you thinking.
It gets you thinking. Yeah, and we've got Stephanie Jenkins on. That's super cool. Hi, Stephanie. Stephanie, are you on the treadmill or are you doing some squats? I think Stephanie has a triathlon coming up soon. It's her first one, so that's super cool. Gabby Vargas, good morning. Good morning. Gabby is in the most amazing role ever. Suicide prevention, focused especially on the Latino community, but all communities, of course. So we are super grateful and super thankful for what you do, Gabby. Super cool. And it's people like you that inspire us to be better and to do this. Stephanie is on the bike. Yeah. And we're here on Memorial Day weekend, right?
Yeah, I need some cardio in my life, man. This is mental cardio this morning, though.
Oh, it's so cool. So yeah, what y'all got planned for Memorial Day weekend? Like, I know I'm doing some barbecuing. I've got an inspection to go on tomorrow, which is going to be cool. And yeah, I'm going to hang out with family and friends. I'm going to do some finance on my end.
There you go.
I'm gonna study and practice a little stoicism,
as we all should every single day.
Oh, no, right? Oh, that's it. You are welcome, Gabby Vargas. Thank you for being you. And Elena, if you don't know her, check her out. She does a monthly massage, actually, or no, I shouldn't say massage. She does massages, but she does a monthly stretching event. So for those of you who are behind a desk for most of the day, like you get on her live stream and she'll have us all stretch and like really wake up our day and re-energizes ourselves.
Oh my gosh.
So Elena Pop, you are the bomb.
Gotta message me the details. Count me in.
I love it.
Yoga midday. Love that. And yes, some positive vibes we're bringing on Friday. I love this.
I love it too. It says LinkedIn user. We don't know who it is, but that's okay.
It's the thought that counts.
Yeah.
The message is real and it hits home.
Yeah, it does. All right, we're 4 minutes in. So
how about
I lower the music and fade out, with our fancy equipment that we have here.
Yes. Cue
my phone.
Set team to lower volume.
Yeah. All right.
Beautiful.
All right, Michelle.
Let's kick us off.
How about you start us off with a quote?
I'd love to. And it definitely relates in today. And let's start thinking, because we suffer not from events in our lives, but our judgment about them.
And on that note, welcome to this week's episode of Live Beyond Default Livestream, episode number 22. My name is Dave. I'm your host. I'm a realtor. I'm a personal development nerd. And who do we got here?
Hello, I'm back once again from last week. I'm honored to be here with Dave, but I'm Michelle Norton. I am a recruiter, but also happiness engineer.
I love that. A happiness engineer. I like that one better. Thank you.
Of course.
She's always challenging me to be better, right? Well, it's been a wonderful year so far, and I am so grateful that you all are on here for episode number 22. And we are going to do our best to give you your weekly dose of personal growth. And if you're listening in the car, you're listening on the bike, if you're watching on your computer or your phone, also you just have this tab open in the background, right? And then keep that going and keep your work jam going on. You don't necessarily have to watch us. You can keep us on in the background and we'll keep you going for the day. And most importantly, remember this. Ask yourself, has your week been epic so far? And if it hasn't, we are going to challenge you to take responsibility why it has not been epic. And moving forward, let's all make it epic for each other, right? Let's take responsibility for what we have and what we don't have, and not point fingers of why we don't have what we want in our lives, and really take responsibility for everything. And that's all about the Live Beyond Default philosophy, taking responsibility. So last week we talked about lollipop moments. And that was so fun. Like, I didn't even know what a lollipop moment was until I met this person.
Happiness engineer, kindness engineer, we all can be in charge of our own lollipop moments. And to recap, it's truly getting out in your community, maybe getting outside of your comfort zone a little bit and letting someone know that they have an impact on your life, and giving that gratitude and reminding the world that, hey, we're all in this together. Let's celebrate.
I love that. Ritesh, good morning. Jim Idstein, good morning. LinkedIn user, happy Friday. And Garen, good morning, everyone. Thank you again so much. Ritesh, we are keeping it stupid simple, as you say. I love that. I love how Ritesh, what he does with his kids. He shared with me so many good moments, which is super cool. Jim Idstein, I don't think I've met more of a giver than Jim Idstein. Like, yes. I was cleaning up the side of the highway with him a couple weeks ago. He just doesn't stop. Like, all he's doing is giving his best to causes and communities and really showing up for people. So thank you, Jim. And Garen, I don't know what town you're from, but I know you're not in Illinois. And Garen's a badass. You got to check him out. He's got LinkedIn live streams too. So check out Garen Boulani. And I always like how he's got the shirt and the tie right there.
Yeah, no, I love that.
So did anybody have a lollipop moment the last week? I will say that I had a lollipop moment. And my lollipop moment was numerous times I dealt with resistance. Yeah, resistance, right?
Tell me more.
Yeah, well, I like to say accept what is and love what is. And when it comes to resistance, we know that when we resist, it persists, right? We're actually like feeding the system and the defense mechanism. When we resist something, we're actually making it stronger. So I recognized a few areas in my life that I was resisting certain things. And I recognized that it really was the sign of my amygdala trying to keep me in that comfort zone and keep me safe. And most importantly, I knew it was the opportunity for me to up level in an area of my life. And I had a couple big events happen that really leveled up what I was doing in my life. The resistance is always like strongest before, right? It's like the sirens. Remember the story of the boats traveling down the river back in the day in Greece, and then the sirens are on the side and they're singing. Well, if you go towards the siren, what happens? Boom, your boat like capsizes, right? And there's sirens everywhere. There's shiny objects everywhere. And I love shiny objects, right? And I recognize that. So I'm doing my best to stay focused. So my lollipop moments were self-reflection, recognizing that there were a couple patterns of resistance. And instead of pushing back against them, I just accepted them and I did my best, and it all worked out. So
beautiful.
that was the lollipop moments I had last week.
No, that's needed. And it kind of goes back to everything is 80% mindset and 20% skill set. And for you to keep training that 20% skill set, it naturally becomes your mindset in difficult situations like that. So that's super important. I'm trying to think. I want to hear some more lollipop moments in the comments, because kindness is key. But kind of reflecting on my week, little shout out to Michael Larson. I gave him a call to prepare for our lovely podcast today, because he's actually a philosophy major. So I was like, all right, I gotta pick his brain a little bit. I need some insight. I need some help. So I always appreciate a random call to him to help me start thinking and generating thoughts. So
I didn't know Michael Larson was a philosopher.
Yeah. Yes. Very, very stoic.
I thought he was just a baseball dude.
I know.
Yeah.
The more you know.
Are you going to any Schaumburg Boomers games this weekend?
I got to bring my Maple. She's my husky, to bark in the park. There's like 3 dates on the calendar. If you want to enjoy baseball with your pup, best of both worlds combined, I appreciate that creativity. So count me in. My calendar is marked. Yes.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, there's nothing like going to the ballpark. It's cool to be at the Schaumburg Boomers Stadium. So thank you again, Michael Larson, for everything that you do and providing just a cool family and chill environment for us to relax, to enjoy the ball game, and to hang out with Coop and those pretzels. Those freaking pretzels, they're so dangerous. Good. I absolutely love them. So let's talk a little bit about our topic, right? If you're just joining us, this is Live Beyond Default Livestream, episode number 22. It's Friday morning, fantastic Friday, fun Friday. And you know what? We are having fun with purpose on this show. And somebody asked me recently what fun with purpose is. And my definition to them, to me, to everybody was it's fun that fuels you. Yeah. It's fun that there's a line from an Eagles song that says, some dance to remember and some dance to forget. And I want to dance to remember. I don't want to dance to forget. Yeah. So when I go on vacation, I want to go on vacation to remember and reflect on the good life I have versus escape the life that I'm living. And I did that for many years, right? And it's challenging. It's not easy. We're all doing the best we can with what we have at this time, always. And we know that, right? There's never any judgment. We're just doing our best to challenge each other to play big and not play small. So, it's time to talk about Stoicism. What is Stoicism? Why does Stoicism matter? And how do we apply Stoicism in our daily lives? Those are like such stock questions, that
deep.
And I just like copy and paste them for like when I do these posts and I create the event. But they're really just they're just guidelines for us, right? Because we're going to go off on tangents and we're going to talk about things. So Michelle, why don't you start? What do you think Stoicism is? Yeah,
I think it really does relate to the first quote that we brought up this morning. For suffering from the events in our lives, we're suffering from this, but more so the judgment about it. So let's I'm going to put us in a scenario so we can understand this. So let's say I'm just going to go real deep or like off the wall. So let's just say our house burned down. This is a very tragic moment. Something is now gone. Maybe it's items, maybe it's things. And now we're only left with ourselves. And we need to really look at the cause and effect of life and kind of put in your mindset, we are not always going to be in control of these external factors. My house burned down. I'm in zero control of that. But now you are left with your mindset. So being physically in the moment with your thoughts and how are you going to react? So again, you could either react, of course, naturally, we may all react, oh dear gosh, what am I going to do? A million questions are in your head and you're running frantically. But that's honestly where not good decisions are made. If you are doing knee-jerk reactions, a lot of things can downward spiral in this negative loop. But rather, being with your thoughts, being present, and not letting external things really affect you, you are only left with yourself and your mindset, and that's what needs to be fostered. So
I like that. I like that a lot. And two things it made me think of. Number one, it made me think of the book Fight Club by Chuck Palahniuk, right? If you've seen the movie, like his condo, Edward Norton's condo burns and catches fire, right? So like, it's a great movie.
Whew, I got to mark
The movie
it on my
Fight
to-do
Club
list.
is wonderful. The book is even better. But the other thing it reminds me of too is that fight or flight mode. And the fight or flight mode, like, it doesn't mean that when your house burns down or we get in a car accident or somebody dies in our life, it doesn't mean that we're avoiding the feelings, and it doesn't mean that it doesn't suck because we say we don't throw sprinkles on a shit show. What it does mean, they actually bleep me out when the words come up. It says S with the stars. It's hilarious on the captioning. But it doesn't mean that we're resisting or we don't feel that pain or we don't feel that loneliness or we don't feel that hurt. It means that we're actually feeling it more and we're embodying it and we're recognizing that it's good to feel that, and our reaction to it will be more stoic. It will be more chill, and it will come from a more cognitive sense versus a fight or flight mode when we do feel into that pain. So sometimes people will say to me, oh, Dave, you seem so happy all the time. Like, how are you doing it? And I'm like, well, it's not that I'm happy all the time. It's that I'm a mess when I wake up in the morning, right? What I'm doing, though, is I'm embracing that mess and I'm doing what I could control, which means I'm meditating for 10 minutes. I'm doing Wim Hof breathing exercises for 11 minutes. I'm going outside and I'm facing towards the sun to get that morning light to restart and jumpstart my circadian rhythm for the next 16 hours, right? I'm making my bulletproof coffee. What kind of pepper?
Kanye
pepper, because he's the hottest. I'm doing these things in the morning to pre-frame my day. And when I go out and when I see other people, I seem happy and I am happy. Why? Because I've been with it. I've been with myself. I've reflected, right? I'm willing to go a little bit on my dark side because I recognize that, like, there's gifts beyond there and I'm just not going to resist it. So that fight or flight mode, back in the day, really only like a few hundred years ago, the fight or flight mode was really like being attacked or having to go catch food. Like, there wasn't many fight or flight modes during the day. And now you'll recognize that when you're emailing somebody or you go on your phone or you're texting, what happens is you don't breathe deep. And I would challenge you all, the next time that you're texting or the next time you're emailing someone, check in with yourself and see how your breath is. Because if it's not deep in, deep out, and it's not a steady breath as it usually is, you're in fight or flight mode. And it happens all the time. There's so many things now that a notification, fight or flight mode, right? Everything is such a big deal, and it's really not. Nothing's a big deal, right? And like, let's be real. It really is. We're not that important. Nothing's that big of a deal. And that's challenging to have that mindset, right? So part of stoicism, as Michelle says, is how do you react to what's going on in the world around you? And how are you, and what frame are you really looking at it too, right? So if you watch a lot of news, now you're priming yourself to constantly see things that are wrong going on in the world. And it's like, Well, if you're watching the news, how do you think your day is going to be, right? If you're watching soap operas, right? Or you're reading something or watching a certain YouTube video, or you're following somebody, right? How do you think that your day is going to be? Like, you're going to be reacting in a certain way by what you put in your head.
Exactly. No, and I like that you bring up priming too. It kind of even touches on the first pillar of Stoicism, and that's wisdom. And wisdom is a virtue. We'll dive into all of the pillars of Stoicism soon, but to really touch on navigating a situation, that's where it is all going to come into play. You got to kind of break things down, and life is like an onion. I know you've probably heard that, and thanks Shrek.
Yeah, I was thinking Shrek too. That's awesome. I love Shrek.
I know.
How can you not?
But truly, like, peeling back the onion when something initially first happens, of course, going back to the amygdala and our, little root brain right here, it is so important to start digging deeper and asking yourself why. And I like that you actually brought up the physical aspects, really tuning in with your breathing or your mindset, or even the lighting. All of these things, it's a mind-body connection.
Yeah.
And the two correlate. So why not put yourself in the best environment for the mindset to thrive? That's kind of the simple things in life. All these things do add up, though. Again, lighting, the fuel in your body, that's going to then correlate to your mindset.
Yeah. I love that. And bringing up the breathing again, if anybody has a comment, throw it in there. Like, we're talking about fight or flight mode. We're talking about being grounded. We're talking about stoicism. And again, this is the Live Beyond Default live stream, episode number 22, if you're just joining us. So I got a little hack here when it comes to breathing.
Yeah.
If there's a situation that's going on that's kind of painful, or you don't necessarily like, or you're having a hard time with it, and you're recognizing that, like, you're getting up all in your head and you can't really think straight with it, you breathe in twice and then you exhale. So it looks like this. It goes.
I like that.
And you do that, and you'll recognize when you do that, like, you just check in, you calm down, you recognize that you could look at the situation going on in front of you in a much different way compared to before. And it makes all the difference in the world. So,
wow.
All right. We started off with what is Stoicism. Let's see, Michelle, why does Stoicism matter? And I know we touched upon this a little bit already. It's such a wonderful topic for me. I don't know if anyone's seen the movie 400. It's kind of animated. It's kind of cool. It's definitely a hero's journey story. But if anybody ever saw the movie 400, like, they're pretty stoic in that movie. It's very interesting. I don't remember the main character's name in that movie, or who he was, the actor, but
King Arthur. I don't know. It's
no, it's not King Arthur. I don't know who it was, but he's super cool. It's been a good movie to watch on a regular basis, to kind of just tap in and remind you, like, what's important in life and what's not. But why do you think Stoicism is important?
Oh, wow. I know we did touch on it, but it goes back into the three other pillars of finding virtue and finding grace for the lens that you're looking at life through. So, of course, we touched on wisdom, really navigating every situation as best as you can. And one thing that you can do to apply this in your life is really the 5 whys. So let's say the world blows up, something difficult in your life happens. Let's take a deep breath, use our new breathing techniques, and ask yourself, why does this hurt? Top level question. And we're digging beyond the surface.
Yeah.
And so you need to apply that in, honestly, everyday situations. Get your mind used to asking why. So that's kind of the first reason. And then touching on the 3 other pillars, we have to look at temperance, justice, and courage. And these are just ways of living, looking through a lens of integrity. This actually connects a little bit with lollipop moments too.
Yeah.
Giving kindness and doing things without expecting a result.
Yeah.
You are just doing the right thing because you know that's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And that is kind of painting a picture, going back to what Stoicism is actually. That's the whole cause and effect of everything.
Yeah.
And looking at causes and effects, why not put yourself in a better favor for that? And I would say courage and integrity, that's just really important skill sets to live by. So why you need to apply it, it kind of makes yourself zen at the end of the day too. Really being in control of your mindset, being kind and generous, and just living in harmony. And I want, if you have a definition of harmony for you in your life, I'd love to see some comments rolling through. Just because harmony, wow, I feel like that could be a whole lot of different feelings for different people.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like that a lot. And what I also like is when I have the image on the screen correctly. That's super important. So there we go. We're still in camera. So wisdom, temperance, justice, and courage, right? And let's think about wisdom. Number one, like we can read books all day. And if we're not applying what we read in the books, it means nothing, right? I had someone say to me before, if I tell you something that I read out of a book, but I'm not doing it, you call me a liar.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's so powerful, right? Like, I would bet that if we were just to apply the principles that we learned in one book throughout the rest of the year, that our lives would be completely different. We're reading so much, we're ingesting so much. And what happens is it's like information overload. And if we're not applying these things, why are we even reading them, right? Why are we even going over them? Like it almost doesn't matter anymore. So wisdom, always important to be learning, right? Always be learning. You could read 10 pages a day. That equals one book a month. And of course, that means 12 books a year. That's awesome. Excuse me, temperance. Oh yeah, temperance, right? Like just keeping calm and being chill in any situation. Think about a work situation that's happened to you recently that you saw people maybe get a little out of control, or maybe you saw yourself reacting a little out of control, right? Not necessarily the best way to handle the situation. And how do you feel when you're a leader or a boss or someone that maybe you admire or look up to, when you see them kind of go off the deep end and get out of control? Like, how does that make you feel? I don't feel good about that. Kind of like, this person's leading me. What's wrong with her? Like, you're supposed to be like.
That's when I give them a hand and I'm like, let me just, it's okay. We're in this together.
Yeah.
And that's when you save the day. But yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's temperance, right? Justice. We know justice, right? Everybody's doing the best they can. We believe that humans are generally good, that they're coming from a good place, and that they're doing the best they can with what they have always. Like, to think of it any other way, I know I'm not a police officer, right? I know I'm not an attorney. I know I'm not a lot of things. The frame, seriously, I truly believe, and this is just my opinion, that we're all wired to really be good, right? We're wired to survive. We're also wired to be good. We're wired in this tribe mentality, which is why sometimes it's hard to be individualistic, because we want to be in the tribe. We want to grow together. We want to support and encourage and love each other. That's what it's all about here too. And courage. Oh, this is a big one, right? Like having the courage to do something and step out of your comfort zone. Remember the first time you ever like dove into a pool?
Oh yeah.
Like talk about a lot scary, right? The first time you rode a bike, right? Like the first time that you stood up and you did a speech in front of people.
I'm actually thinking of the show, and this is really, I love the show. It's the What Would You Do, where they film those situations like, oh no, a little kid is lost and trying to cross the street. Like, what is the general public doing in that moment? Are they looking out for the child? Are they just assuming someone else is going to go take care of it or call 911 or whatever that might be? But leading from the middle is key. And that's where justice and courage comes in. We know it's the right thing to do, and being present and helping and assisting other people, especially during a time when, hey, put yourself in their shoes. If you were lost and being who your younger self needed, for instance, that's where you need to step in and help.
A lot of nuggets out of there. The one that I took out was leading from the middle. I never heard that before.
Oh, really?
Where did you hear that?
Oh my gosh.
Where'd you learn that?
I don't even know. It's probably something I learned from work. We have a leadership group, and we discuss this. And even working with my district director on our awesome team here, I think that's just the mentality that we put into our leadership group is we're all a leader. We're all a master of our craft at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter how you lead, as long as you're being a good person at the end of the day. You have a lot to offer.
I love that. I never heard that before.
Oh,
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Elena says, I feel the same in the morning. Quiet time, prayer, and short self-care helps a lot to start my day happy and balanced. Thank you for that,
harmony.
Elena.
Yes.
It really, the morning practice, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're sharing what we do here. We're never saying that what we do is better or what you're doing is not as good. What we're really doing is just sharing stories of our behaviors and our habits and our leadership and what's worked for us to create the space for all of us to come up with ways to be a little happier, a little healthier,
I like
a little more connected with our family and our friends and our coworkers, right? And there's nothing like that morning practice. That morning practice just sets you off on the day, even if it's like 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Like if we don't have 15 minutes in the morning, something's off with your schedule.
Yes.
We're not that important, right? We've got 15 minutes. Let's recognize.
While brushing your teeth.
Yeah, while brushing your teeth. Let's go over some characteristics of the ideal Stoic. Serene and confident. Acts reasonably. We talked about that with temperance. Focuses on what she can control. And that's super important, which we can't control much. Focusing on what we can control.
Yes.
I know you apply that a lot in the recruiting arena. I apply that a lot in the real estate realm all the time. Super important. Accepting fate graciously. That's a good one.
I love that.
Accepting fate. And it doesn't mean that we always like what happens. Recognizing though that we accept what happened and now what will we do moving forward? Not what we can do, not what we're thinking about doing, but what will we do move forward? Because we talk in action and we take that action. Unattached to external things.
Yes.
Oh my.
This is your world. You're in the middle of like purging your place.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, cleaning the closet, this, that, the other.
Well, this is a big one, I think, for everybody, because really when you look at it, the system, whatever that is, really look how things are set up, right? You're lacking this, so do this and you'll feel better. You don't feel this way, so buy this and it'll fix this.
Yeah.
And when you think about how consumerism and what's gone on in this country for many, many years, and we're not pointing a finger and we are in no way throwing out conspiracy theories because we don't do that here. We take responsibility. Like what we are saying is, though, is that car going to really make you happy? Is that man you want to be with really going to make you happy? Is the sun outside really going to make you happy versus if it's raining outside? And being unattached to external things and recognizing that even like clothes, books, kitchen utensils, little trinkets that you saved from when you were a kid, like there's emotion connected to that. The only thing is the emotion and the feeling is really not in the object. Yeah. It's really in here. And to get a reminder of those things is super cool. Recognizing that the emotion is really in our hearts and it's not in It's not in the
Yeah.
object. Yeah. So that's really, really big. Being unattached to external things. So think about that and think of the things and the people that you all are attached to, because I'm thinking about it all the time, right? We like to go deep. We like to poke, right? We like to play big. Michelle, read some of the rest of them.
Oh, yeah. Wow. I also just think, to go off that real quick, what you just explained, sparking joy in things. It's also that Netflix show where she like teaches people how to get rid of like things and sparking joy. We could do that every day in our mental brains. So that was my little nugget from what you were discussing.
I like that.
But I feel like we went over a good nugget of it. But I would say the other most important one is taking full responsibility for your life as well.
Okay.
And we discussed harmony a little bit as well. So putting yourself in responsible, putting yourself in a responsible lifestyle that can create harmony at the end of the day.
Yeah, I like that too. Read some more of them on the right there.
Ooh, and I would say like taking virtues, this kind of goes back to our object as well. We don't have to have virtues in objects. It's all within our brains and our mindset and the people that we connect with. One of the things that I have been pondering, I found this quote and it says, we could either have 200 people like us, but what about the 2 people that love us? And so, of course, we want to be well connected and pick people's brains and be well networked, but also not getting lost in the followers and all this external things, but reminding you to look close to who is next to you is also key.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I really like that. Yeah, 200 friends. I've read before that we could really only like keep track of like 150 people in our lives, which I found really interesting. Like, yeah, like who's your tribe and who are the people that are closest to? Usually we're looking for so many things out and about, and most of the time it's right in front of us.
Yes.
What we're really looking for is right in front of us. It reminds me of the book, The Alchemist.
Ooh.
I don't know if you've read that book.
Not.
I just recommended it to somebody this morning early. The Alchemist. If you've read that book, let us know, because that book is a game changer. No spoiler alert. No spoiler alerts here. But the cool thing about The Alchemist is it's told in a story. It's about this kid looking to find his personal legend, and he's going on this journey. The personal legend would be like his calling, his purpose, his North Star. And I would say that book was half the reason why I released and left my previous job.
Wow.
Like reading that book, like I felt like I was the kid in that book, right? Super cool book. So highly recommend it. And yeah, The Alchemist. So check it out. It's an easy read too. Something else that I like too is being kind and generous. And you hear that a lot right now, right? Like, oh, be kind. Gary Vee talks about it all the time. Be kind, be kind, be kind. And how often do we see that others are not kind, like out in public? And then how often do we reflect back when we weren't kind to somebody, especially if somebody was having a hard time or they were really in need? Kindness just shines through, and it really is, it's what we all need. And it really is an encourager to not only learn more about ourselves and self-respect, but it really just gives, it creates the space for introspect. It creates the space to really have some dialogue with others and recognize that, you know, we don't have to agree with what others say all the time.
Yeah.
And that's super important, right? You hear about cancel culture all the time. You hear about, again, people pointing fingers at each other, and there's really no reason for it. Like when I meet someone or I'm talking with someone or one of my friends has a lot of different opinions than me, I ask myself, I wonder why they have that opinion. I'll ask myself, where did they learn that, or where did they get that from? or I'd like to learn more because I'm curious and I want to hear why she or he really thinks or live that way, because it gives me the opportunity not only to understand them more and connect more with them, it gives me the opportunity to learn more and maybe try something new that I didn't know before. And it really like brings the opportunity for growth in my life.
That's key, because being selfless and putting yourself in that situation, that's what is going to bring that introspect, that insight. So making sure you're putting yourself in those situations is what generates kindness too. And I always say, interesting people, they're not the ones talking about themselves. They're the ones wanting to learn more, digging deeper, and asking other people those 5 whys that I mentioned. Of course, internally, you can assist or like evaluate a situation by asking yourself those 5 whys, but also make sure you're doing it to other people. Again, back to Dave. Why are you thinking this way? Tell me more. Dig in a little bit deeper.
Yeah, the 5 whys are super important, and practicing on ourselves with all of these ideals, these behaviors, these mindsets. That's really what it's all about. It's practicing on ourselves. It's having the willingness to go deep, and also being okay with sometimes just not feeling very well, right? Maybe we're going to see family or friends this weekend that sometimes we don't get along with. It's a holiday weekend, right?
Yeah.
Maybe we're struggling in a relationship, or maybe we're struggling financially, or maybe we're struggling with something with the way that we look or the way that we feel, or something in our jobs. And that's really, really an opportunity for us to grow and to learn more, not just about ourselves, but to learn more about others and really be showing up for what we like to say, team human. Right?
Team human.
Team
I need a shirt
human.
that says that. We all do. It's
Team
kind of like superheroes don't need to wear capes kind of thing. We're all team human.
I love that. I love that. So let's get on here.
Yeah.
How do we apply stoicism in our daily lives? So we briefly touched on a couple things, right? We talked about doing a morning practice, which we know is going to ground us.
Mm-hmm.
I would say an evening practice. So if we bookend our days with a morning practice and an evening practice, how you begin your day, how you end your day, it really works in a cycle for the next day that you get up.
Yes.
So there's a few things at night, which is great. Stop the blue screens, the laptop, the computer, the television, or the phone at least a half hour before you go to bed.
Definitely.
Dim the lights. Especially don't have blue light on within a half an hour before you're going to bed. Perhaps lower the temperature in in your home. That's a big one, right? Because we're really revolving, and we became who we are today as humans because our lives revolved around the sun up, sun down, no matter where we lived. So something that someone told me too is not only dimming the lights, but instead of having lights on that are above you, which feels like the sun to our body, turn off the lights above us, but have like lamps on that are lower in the room, because then it's like the sun being more on the horizon. Ooh, isn't that wild?
That makes sense. Again, setting your environment up for success. That's exactly the feng shui of it all. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Another one I would say was like keeping your place clean.
Yes.
And starting with simple things like decluttering your car, right? These are all little like easy things that don't cost any money. Start with decluttering your car, maybe go through a drawer or two, work on the kitchen a little bit. Oh, how about digital declutter? That's a whole like another topic. I mean, what's on your desktop, right?
Yeah.
Are you finding folders? What do your email inbox look like? That's another big one, right? Keeping us out of that fight or flight mode and keeping us calm. So how would you apply stoicism?
Oh man, I feel like I've been in the midst of practicing this more each and every day. And it is just kind of the being Zen, as simple as it is, but that's where we need to be present be more calm.
Mm.
Again, we have 100 fires burning in every direction and we're kind of like, oh no, what do I attack first? But setting yourself up for decluttering and organizing your mind, this is kind of the digital cleanup is like, okay, first I'm going to make a plan. I'm going to say this fire gets put out first and kind of look at a priority, but you do need to take a physical like step back to decipher that before you just kind of jump in. You're not thinking. So that's key, is just mentally preparing and organizing. And you can make sure you do this a part of your morning routine. There's a book, I believe it's also 5 a.m. Club, as well as The One Thing. Both of these focus on the one thing that you need to do. And you need to set yourself up with a plan before the day even begins.
Yeah.
So the first 2 hours of your day are the most productive. And I'm glad you're starting it off with us. The first 2 hours of your day, probably.
I love that. I love that. And I like the idea of the one thing. Not only is that a great book, but it really just like prioritizes what's going on and recognizing that like so many of the like things that we think we need to do, are they really moving us forward in life? Are they really getting us to where we want to go? Or are they enhancing? Are they building us up? Are they bringing us joy in our lives?
Spark joy.
And there's so much that we think we need to do that we really don't need to do. And I would say applying Stoicism in our daily lives is saying no. When people ask you to do things, say no most of the time, because most of the time, is it really good for you to be doing that? Recognize that when you say yes to somebody else, it's poofing that spot in your calendar that says no to you. You have a big no in that space where maybe, possibly, probably, we can use that time where we said no to somebody else. We can use that time for ourselves to grow or to share it with our kids, or share it with our significant others, or invest some time with our coworkers or some of our salespeople, or maybe a newbie that just came in the company that's feeling kind of lost and kind of lonely, and being able to help them, encourage them, and being a leader, which is seeing others better than we see ourselves.
Leading from the middle.
Leading from the middle again. See, it all just keeps going around. And, you know, the other thing I was thinking, we've got this on our notes here. If you saw that picture yesterday, you saw like what our setup it is. And that's what it really is. It's pretty simple. We've got notes. We've got a TV where we can see ourselves, a monitor. We've got a camera. We've got a microphone. Super simple here, right? We're keeping it simple, and that's important. Whether there's one person on or 100 people on, we want to do our best to bring value to you. And I was thinking that I was thinking it because I heard it in good morning, Muhammad. Thanks for joining us today, my friend. I was thinking like about this Socrates quote, and he says, the truly free individual is free only to the extent of his own self-mastery. Those who will not govern themselves are condemned to find masters to govern over them. Recognize that second line there. If we are not willing or able to govern ourselves, then we are condemned to find masters that will govern us. I don't want somebody else governing me.
Be in charge of your own mindset, your own life. Yeah,
that's what it's all about. And obviously, clearly, naturally, when we need help, when we need leadership, it's all out there, right? It could be a mentor. It could be a masterclass. It could be a trainer. It could be one of your bosses or one of your managers, right? It could be learning from somebody else. Boy, it's amazing when you're with people and you don't say anything, how much you actually learn.
Yes.
Like keeping quiet and not having to constantly talk and keep the conversation going. Like, it's amazing what you'll
Yeah.
learn. And it's amazing, like, you recognize that then you don't have to control the situation, right? You're releasing outcome dependence. And releasing outcome dependence is, in my mind, a big part of Stoicism, right? It's
Yes.
focusing on that process. It's enjoying the process, even if it's grueling, even if it's mundane,
Yeah.
even if it's laborious, right? This shit ain't fun half the time. You know, it reminds me, I remember, like, I don't know, say 8 or 9 or 10 years ago, like getting into personal growth and personal development. And in the beginning, it seemed so fun, right? It was like, oh yeah, oh, look at these cool things we're going to do. And oh, I'm learning all this. And oh, did you learn this? And you're trying things. And about a month in, I was like, shit, this is not real fun.
I have to put in work and effort and thought.
Oh yeah, work and effort. Oops, I forgot about that whole thing. And recognizing that, like, you know what? It's not about the instant gratification.
Exactly.
It's not about that. We think that's the world that's been built, right? We order something on Amazon, we get it 2 days later. That took 20 years to get there.
Yeah.
20 years for that 2-day delivery. We want to find any piece of information, right? We don't remember something, but we knew it before. We don't remember. What do? We Google it. I challenge you, don't Google it.
Yeah.
And let your mind come up with it later on. That builds your brain. Or if you know how to get somewhere and you've been there before, don't Google map it.
Yeah.
Drive.
Go by memory.
My parents used paper maps to get around. People sailed seas before by the sun and the moon and the stars.
Yes.
Like, it's not that hard to get around. We can figure it out. We're not going to get lost and like fall off the edge of the earth, right? I mean, think about that. So if you've been somewhere once or twice already, I challenge you, like, don't use your Google map. The point was, I almost don't remember what the point was. It was releasing outcome dependence.
Oh, and listening. I always say you were born with 2 ears, but 1 mouth. So
yeah,
listen and then think to respond, but mostly listen.
Yeah. And that really makes a big difference. And you know what? We're all doing the best we can with what we have at this time, always. We know that. And there's times when we're struggling too, right? Which is why it's super important to recognize, like, we always want to check in with our crew. We want to be around people like you that are challenging us to be better, right? That are challenging us to play big and who are calling us in. We always like to say that. Don't call people out, call them in.
I like that. I'm gonna start using that one. Call people in to be their better selves. And when you see them playing small, ask them questions. Why do you think that? How come it worked out that way? Do you think that maybe if you do this, this might be this way? Right? And when we're coming from a good place, it's amazing the reaction and how happy people will be that you did that for them, that you showed up for them. So having the masters to govern over you, it's not the life I want to live. Nope. And I had masters governing over me for many, many years because I was resisting. I wasn't going in. I wasn't listening to myself. I wasn't loving myself. And once I started like getting through those and started getting clarity and like started releasing and letting go of like all these distractions in my life, I recognized that, like, wow, I could start to govern myself. I really can start to be my own leader. Yes. Right. And fill up my cup and fill up my pitcher, and then go out in the world and really just share what I've learned and encourage others to live beyond default, which is what it's all about. What else? What about you? Governing yourself, huh? Oh, wow. Governing myself. I feel like since college, that's a time of life that you're really in charge of your own being, building your own character and kind of creating who you want to be. Of course, it could start earlier. I always say personality honestly begins at like 3 or 5 years old. We're kind of born with our personality, but typically speaking, this is an age where you move out in college and you get to really explore that life. And allowing that flexibility in your schedule is so important to be present and be reflecting with the people around you. You know, what other time of life do you like go to class for 3 hours a day and have a whole day to be able to take charge and do what you need to do. There's not a really other point of life, you know. Then you start the typical 9 to 5, maybe not. That's part of governing your own life, and choosing flexibility and freedom is also key in a lifestyle and career that's important to you.
Yeah.
But I feel, again, kind of rewinding back to my college years, being able to set yourself up for those healthy habits later on. We were kind of talking about organizing your life and how you started this 8-10 years ago of personal and growth development for yourself. It was hard at first, but now look, I'm sure it comes so easy. So naturally, building yourself up for a successful future, it takes a lot of fortitude, mental, you know, just dedication to the craft until, you know, 10 years later, it's smooth sailing. Think about now, I'll probably have kids in like 5 years or so. And I want to make sure I'm present for them, but making sure I'm setting myself up for success to build those healthy habits when life might get a little crazy. You know, there's a lot of demanding push and pull at a new point in time in a new situation where you'll continue to learn a ton of great things. But again, having that plan of a lifestyle and like values that you want to incorporate, just start setting yourself up for success today. And of course, a day, again, might blow up. Relates us back to stoicism of being zen, being present. Today is a new day. Honestly, 10 minutes ago is 10 minutes ago. It's okay, whatever happened. Let's close that door, reflect and move on. And hey, now we're here. We could start all over again.
Yeah. And you hear a lot about being present, and you hear all, be present, right? To me, like Eckhart Tolle is the master of that, right? The power of now. Or Sadhguru, if anybody knows who that is, check him out too. He's got some cool YouTube videos of his practices, but really being present, like to the moment, not thinking about how you could have done stuff better in the past, and not thinking about what may happen in the future. And we're constantly thinking about the past and the future, when really it's like, what's happening right now? You're here. We're breathing, right? We're either doing a task, or we're speaking with someone, or we're with our kids, right? Can you imagine having your kid take the first bike ride, get on the bike and start to pedal, and you're scrolling through Instagram? Like, imagine that, because your kid's never going to have that first time again, but you're scrolling on the feed on Instagram, right?
And you don't even know why you're scrolling. There's literally no purpose.
No.
It's a habit. Break the habit.
It is. And Mark brings up a good point.
Yes.
Loudest person in the room isn't always the smartest. And I would say, well, first of all, super true.
Yes.
I would say that the loudest person in the room is usually, if not almost never, the smartest person in the room. It's that person that's quiet and that's listening. And it's really that person that doesn't need to control what's going on in the room. Now, of course, if you're in front of the room and you're doing a presentation, that's a different story, right? But notice that this weekend, like when you're at parties or you're with other people, like give it a try. Try to be that person that talks a little bit less. Try to be that person that listens a little more, and then just ask people a question here or there. It's amazing when you just ask a few questions to people, they'll pretty much run the whole conversation. And you don't have to say almost anything. Like, it's really kind of funny how that works. And I've noticed that I get a lot more energy. I become more energy sovereign when I just listen and when I'm not talking so much. So over the last like 2 or 3 years, I've actually made an active effort that when I go to networking events or when I go to parties, to listen more, be present, understand more, and then ask questions of curiosity to others, because I am really curious about what they're doing. And at that point, it's like I kind of don't even want to hear myself talk.
I am a recruiter and I love interviewing and learning people's stories. And if I'm doing the most of the talking,
Yeah.
I know it's maybe not a good fit. I want to hear from the person across the table. That's why I do what I do, is to hear their story. So interviewing tip, if you're looking for a new career, make sure you're able to tell your story. And that's what I always dig deeper when I talk to people, is like, let me learn your story. Let's rewind, 20 years ago, where you're born and raised, family dynamic, passions. I want to hear about that. I don't really care what's on your piece of paper resume that's in front of me. I could read that. I can put 2 to 2 together. I know what an administrative assistant does, but let's hear about the things that aren't on this piece of paper.
I love that. I love that. And when people come up to me at networking events and say, so what do you do? My answer usually is, I do yoga. I read. I like to barbecue. I like to chill with my friends.
Yeah.
And I like to share time with my niece and my nephew and my family. Oh, no. I mean, what do you do for work? Oh, you didn't ask that. What do I do for work? Well, I'm a realtor. I'm a public speaker. I'm a personal development coach. Like, okay. But when people ask me what I do, I share with them what I do.
Yeah.
Right. And the first thing is not work. So usually when I see people at an event or I meet somebody new, I ask them, like, what's your favorite vacation spot? Right? Where do you live now? Do you live close to here? How did you hear about this event? How do you know the person that put on this event? What brought you here today?
More story aspect. Stories tell a million words. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you got going on this weekend that you're excited about? What's your biggest challenge for the next year? Right? Like, what do you got going on in your life? How have you showed up for someone? Have you had a lollipop moment lately? Right? That's a good one to bring up too.
That is a great conversation starter. And I know Mark, he maybe I would even call one of the quieter people in the room. We had psychology together at North Park University, and just always, I don't know, I was always intrigued by Mark's like questions, and he like sat right behind me. And so we'd kind of turn and be like, hey, go over information. But Mark even started his own podcast, and I love my psychology folks because it all begins with your mind and asking questions. So I know Mark's doing the same thing, post the degree as well. So keep it up, Mark.
I love that. Thank you for that share.
Yeah.
Well, it's been an hour. I think this is the longest one so far. Once we keep going, once we start, we just keep going. And there's always a lot to talk about, but we're doing our best to bring value to you. My purpose is to encourage others to live beyond default, which is creating a life of design versus accepting a life of neglect. And it's part of why I met Michelle, and I love that she's a host on the show with me, at least for these 2 episodes, right? That was super cool. And I hope to have her on again, because I think she brings a tremendous amount of value, not only to my life, but to the people watching and listening to this show. And it's always good to have content to go back to, and of course, listen, learn, and most importantly, apply. Yes. So thank you for watching this show. Yeah. We have Memorial Day weekend this weekend. So let's keep it real. Let's have fun with purpose, right? Let's listen and maybe talk a little bit less when we're at an event or we're at a family party. And until next time, make it a great week. Thank you. Yeah.
Ending dance intro. Dun, 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 dun. Oh wait, we gotta cue the jams.
Cue the jams.
Get a little snap and clap in, my friends. Oh, there we go. Perfect. Well, you know how we end? Send the love, not only today to someone who you're going to see later this weekend. Remind them how much that they mean to you in this lifetime. And again, we'll see you soon on Live Beyond Default. Oh, we love you. What a good ending lyric.
That's a great one. I love
that. Woo.